Hello, everybody. It is December 21st, and I can't believe it. It's 69 degrees right now at 11 in the morning, and I think we're gonna get in the mid 70s, even maybe the 80s in the sun. Kind of mind-blowing right now. We should be probably in the 40s or 50s during the day and raining and maybe snow and nothing, even though our snow doesn't last until except like noon or something, but really, really warm weather here. I don't know what y'all are getting, but it's not normal. Anyhow, what I wanted to talk today about is headspace, what I call headspace. I have a couple of other SRA survivors that I talk with, and we're friends, and we, help each other with stuff. And one of them is always, she has a hard time with hearing her parts, hearing them talk to her. And I've done a show on this before, Headspace, and she always asks me, well, how do you hear them? How do you get them? How do you this? How do you that? And for me, it's really about not watching TV, not listening to the radio, not having a lot of external noise. And, there was my whole life, I would say addicted to television. I've never really been, that much into music or listening to music. Yeah, I have, bought CDs and listened to them in the house while you're cleaning house and all that, but it's never been a big deal for me, music, but TV always has been. And that comes from as a little girl after I was abused, and I would either be sick or I would fake sick to not have to go to school and stay home with mom and kind of recover. I would sit in front of the TV and watch game shows and cartoons, etc. And so that was my comfort, television. And so through my life, yeah, lots of TV. I think a lot of people are more, maybe not more, but a lot of people listen to a lot of music, always at home, in the car, when you go to the grocery store, there's music. Anywhere you go, there's music going on. So we always have this constant noise in our ears. So several years ago, I heard someone talking about that you need to stop watching television. And it was a challenge for me because, I get up in the morning, I got a TV in my kitchen, you getting ready for work, you'd pop the TV on and you'd have the newscaster telling you about the weather and the traffic and the whatever. And, then you'd go to work, and in the car, I would listen to a podcast. Down there, when I got to work, I'd listen to the same podcast again. On the way home, I'd listen to that same podcast. But I think for most people, you're probably listening to music or talk shows or whatever. At work, there's probably some sort of music going on. Maybe not in all jobs, but the jobs I had were food service and retail. So there's always music in the background. And then when I'd come home, first thing I'd do is pop the TV on and I'd have my court TV shows, the People's Court or whatever, and every half hour or hour, on Monday I'd watch these shows, on Tuesday I'd watch those shows, etc., etc. Or if there was a good movie on Netflix, I'd watch it on the weekend or whatever. And then when YouTube came around, you find your shows and you watch your shows, right? And I've noticed that a lot of YouTubers, and I did this when I first started out, as I would post my shows, I go, well, what am I going to put on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Just like the networks. And it got to the point where I realized, why do I have to put a show on Monday, every day sit down and worry about posting something. It occurred to me, and I'm sure y'all have noticed, I'm just going to put them all up on one day, which I don't know why I chose Saturday. It just seems to work for me, Saturday morning. And y'all could watch them whenever you want, right? But we've been trained and conditioned that on Monday you got this show, Tuesday you got that show, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the weekends, maybe you're going out to the movies or doing whatever, for guys and for girls now too. It never used to be when I was young, but women now are addicted to sports. Men and women. You got your football, your basketball, your baseball, your whatever. The Hispanic community's got their soccer. So these are things that are created and designed to program us. They are. They call television shows programs because in those shows, they're going to insert politically correct ideas, right? As I'm sure we've all noticed, any TV show or movie you watch, there's some sort of LGBTQ influence. There's either gay guys, lesbians, kissing, whatever. And if it's not that, it's the climate change thing, or if it's not that, it's this, that, or whatever. And when you watch the news, it's the whole political thing and crime and what you should be worried about. Oh my God, someone got shot again. Oh, I'm not going to go to that part of town. Or, the whole Trump is awful. Trump is awesome. MAGA. Democrats, the government shut down, and now the whole thing on the news is there's always some sort of shooting somewhere, and now we got this whole thing in Syria, the war, and it is all designed to fill up our mind, and to not just fill our mind, but to place whatever thoughts, whatever programming that they're putting on these screens or on the radio to fill our head up. And we don't have any space left for our own thoughts. Now, there are people out there that will take time, they'll garden, they'll go take a walk or go hiking, and it's quiet. Hopefully, you're the type of person that likes to get out in nature and you don't have earbuds in. You're just listening to nature, and your mind finally has time to rest and settle. But the reason I'm bringing this up is you've got to stop listening to the radio, podcasts, TV shows all day long and having your weekly, your Monday, your Tuesday, your Wednesday, your Thursday, your Friday, your Saturday, your Sunday. I mean, no, you can't avoid music when you go into Walmart or the grocery store or wherever. But in your space, in your home, you can control what comes into your head. You can. And you've got to stop watching television and always having some sort of sound in your head. And it is addictive. It is. It's designed that way. So you've got to wean yourself off of it. So if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is pop the radio on or the TV on, like I did, wait 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. Do your morning rounds. I mean, for me, it's starting the coffee for my husband, opening up the curtains, feeding the dog, 5 or 10 minutes in silence. And then take that 5 or 10 minutes and pull it out to 15 or 20 minutes. Or if you take a shower and you've got the radio on or a podcast going, keep it off. Just be in silence. Get comfortable with your own thoughts. And I remember when I weaned myself off of television, I really didn't need to for radio because it wasn't a big deal for me. But It was a challenge. It was. It took, I think the first week I pulled back an hour or two of television in the evening. I stopped having it on at all in the morning. Now, granted, my husband does. I wish he wouldn't. But even he now is only half, some mornings he'll have the news on, some mornings he won't. So if you're a morning person and you have to have that instantaneous chatter, chatter, chatter in your head, that's what's going on in your head. You're not going to have time to hear your parts say, "Oh, yeah, that's right, that dream I had. Yeah, that was pretty weird. I wonder what that was about. Maybe I should journal that real quick," right? It's your own mind, your own parts telling you something. And that dream might just be your defragging from the day and have no real significance. And you may not need to record it, but I tend to record as many dreams as I can. Um, so when you get and I know that I don't have to work, right? So it's real easy for me if I wasn't doing these videos or working in my garden, I probably would have the television on. But I don't. I want my focus and attention on what I'm working on, which is my parts and my healing. So if you have to go to work and you have that space of a half hour, hour where you're getting ready for work, do not wake up to a radio or podcast. Do not turn it on to keep you company. I think for me, it was easier to have something else talking to me than to listen to my own thoughts because my own thoughts are crazy. Not crazy, but you'll hear your fears, you'll hear your anxieties, you'll hear that that little discomfort that you have with a coworker and it'll roll around in your mind and you don't want to think about it. So you pop the TV on or the radio or the little disagreement you had with your husband or your kids. You don't want to think about it. Or your abuse, your memories. You don't want to think about it. There's parts inside that don't want to think about it. So they will pop on the radio. They will pop on the TV. You've got to turn it off. So again, your day, how your day is structured, if you wake up with TV or radio, I should say podcast, I'm dating myself, radio, but turn it off. If you usually have it on for half hour, 30 minutes, wait 10 or 15 minutes before you turn it on and think about what you were dreaming about. And if you didn't have a dream, that's okay. Just get comfortable with your own thoughts, even if it's this or that or whatever. And then after a week or two, take that 10 or 15 minutes of silence and pull it out to 30 minutes. Wean yourself off of needing something else filling your head space. Now, when you're driving to work, don't put the radio on. Don't have noise, just drive. Think about what you're going to think about. It's okay to be in your head. And as you're in your head, well, let me back up. Just structure your day so that you're in silence. Granted, your thoughts are not silent, but your external world needs to be silent. So wake up in silence and stay in silence if you can. You might have a spouse that puts it on, whatever, but you're driving to work and you're in the car alone. Or if you have your kids with you, you don't have to have the radio on. Chat with your children, chat with your spouse. When you get to work, hopefully you're not in an environment that has noise or chatter. Think, you've got office workers, you've got emails and stuff. If you're at work and you're lucky enough that you can watch YouTube videos, Have it be something educational, not something entertaining. Entertaining is designed to program you. They will insert everything politically correct in there they want to program you with. And then when you're driving home or you're picking the kids up from school, and then in the evening, keep the external noise off. I would imagine if you have a spouse and children, there's enough chatter with just the human beings, right? But it will allow you to interact with those human beings in a more one-to-one personal way rather than interacting with them while you got the TV or the radio chattering away in the background, programming your children as well. Be an example to them. Be comfortable in silence. And if it just drives you crazy to be in silence, like I said, wean yourself off of it. First, take a moment and write down on a little piece of note paper, how much time do I spend with external noise? Is it your entire day? Because that stuff, in particular music, but commercials, TV shows that have music in them, or the jingle at the beginning of the show, whatever. That stuff gets into our subconscious and stays there and rolls around in your mind. I know that we're all familiar with that song you just can't get out of your head, right? And it might be one that annoys you. My sister calls them earworms. When that happens to me and it annoys me, I'll say, okay, instead of listening to this thing go over and over and over and over again in my head, I'll say, Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. Jesus, cleanse my thought. I will create my own mantra. Jesus, cleanse my, and speak over that thing that's running through my head. I will say it over, Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. Jesus, cleanse my thoughts until it stops. And then I'll have silence. And in particular, some songs, a few hours later, it'll pop back up again. Why should that happen? It's because it's designed to. The external noise influence TV, radio, music, commercials, jingles. They are designed to fill up the space in your head. So you're not thinking for yourself. You're not thinking critically. You're not interacting with those closest to you because you're all listening to the radio. It creates a separation between human beings. Number one, and how we communicate and commune with each other. And number two, programs us. We are filled with what we listen to. So again, I'm going to get back to that silence. Write down, okay, how much time do I spend with external noise? Okay, you have different blocks of time as I'm getting ready for work, as I'm driving, when I'm at work, when I'm driving home, and once I get home. Okay, blocks of time. If you have to have the radio on in the car, spend your first, I would always say make the first part of that block of time the silence. And notice your discomfort. Notice the thoughts that you're having. Notice that you're thinking about that jerk at work that really annoys you, and you're thinking about him, and you don't want to think about him because he's not worth your time. Notice that. Okay, Jesus cleanse my thoughts. Jesus cleanse my thoughts. Jesus cleanse my thoughts. I don't want to think about that. I want to think about me and my parts. Who am I? What thoughts fill my head, right? Or you might start thinking about, oh my gosh, all the things I gotta go grocery shopping, I gotta clean the house, and I should have cleaned the house 3 days ago and I didn't, or last week, and it's really getting bad. And so you start getting down on yourself, right? Oh, I'm a loser of a wife. I'm a loser of a mom. I should have done X, Y, and Z. Those are parts inside scolding you. And you don't want to hear it, right? So you turn the radio on. You enjoy yourself. Okay, there's self-persecutorial parts. So when that comes up, you say, Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. I am a good mother. I am a good wife. And I don't have to have a perfectly spotless house. I don't have to clean my house every Sunday morning spotless. It can wait 2 weeks. Or instead of cleaning the entire house, it's okay just to clean the toilets, the countertops, and the kitchen. You know, it's self-persecutorial parts. Or if when you're in those silent moments, you might start hearing the things that you've always wanted to do but never got the chance. I've always wanted to have a little garden, but I can't do it because we don't have the money for it. I don't have the time for it. I don't have the this. I don't have the that. Again, more self-persecutorial parts. Or maybe those aren't self-persecution, but they're the parts that, well, you can't do that. You're not creative. You're too stupid. You're this, you're that. And you don't want to hear it. So you pop the radio on or you pop the TV on. Those are your parts. And it's always the negative ones that are going to come up first. Just ask Jesus, God, Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. Just speak over as the CEO core personality. And if you have a hard time, say, God, please help me. Please cleanse my thoughts. I want to think about you. When I walk my dog now, I created a worship song. It's a simple little song, and I sing it over and over and over. So if I'm hearing those self-persecutorial parts or those, uh, you know, whatever programming or music or TV, or, oh, I wonder what's going to happen on Game of Thrones tonight, and what are the Housewives of Atlanta doing? And that character on that show, she's a real witch, but I really love so and so. Is that really what's important to you, or is it your family, your children, your husband, your mom, your dad, or your parts, your memories, your healing? Is that TV show that important to you? I remember listening to a podcaster talk about that television shows are also designed because we are estranged from our families, our extended families, and because there's such frustrations at work and we have, limited friendships or whatever. We are estranged from the real true human beings in our lives. And television shows where there's ensemble casts and there's serials, right? Your shows, they're there every week, all the time. Those are designed to be a replacement for what should be our personal, physical, interactive relationships. They are being replaced by characters on TV, on our shows. And so that is what we think about, you know? I grew up watching Friends and Will and Grace and MASH when I was even younger, cartoons when I was a kid. And you think, oh, that show last night, that was so funny, and such and such is such a jerk, or and they create these ensemble shows, the Housewives of so and so or Game of Thrones. And so you're thinking about what a biatch that one is, and she's sneaky, and that one's. So you start thinking about people in the way that these characters are. And you project that character's personality onto someone you might work with. Or your sister is just like that character, right? You're taking this programming that the controllers put out there and superimposing it onto people in your life. And that's what you think about. Those are your thoughts because it's been programmed in there by your shows. The music is programming you with its lyrics. You know, this keeps popping up into my head. Game of Thrones. I did not watch that series very specifically because my husband watched it from time to time, and every once in a while I'd walk by and stop and sit down and maybe watch 10 or 15 minutes of it. But inevitably, I think that happened 4 or 5 times over, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 years. Every single time it was some sort of sexual depravity, incest, torture, power struggle, or, or this, mother of dragons and all these people or these depraved, wicked, power-hungry people. They portray them in sympathetic lights. And so you're getting this programming that you should have sympathy for the devil. That character is representative of, or if you watch horror movies, oh, it's not real, it's not this, it's not that. In television shows, and particularly in horror films, they actually film real, live, actual demonic ceremonies and rituals. And the same thing happens on stages. If you go to concerts, there are actual demonic rituals performed that you are observing. And if you're at a concert, you are a participant of. So I say all this to urge you to stop needing to be entertained. Embrace silence. And when you have those self-persecutorial thoughts, or the ones that say you're a loser, you're awful, how whatever, ask Jesus to cleanse your thoughts. And it use that or switch between sing a worship song in your head and worship God. Reprogram your thinking. And you will get to a point, wean yourself off of the amount of time you spend on your shows. And the shows that you watch, I was like, for me, I do still watch television on a daily basis, but I don't turn the TV on until probably 6 o'clock at night. And what I watch are YouTube shows. And I have some homesteaders that I watch because I like to learn about gardening and homesteading. Not that I have a homestead, but there's one show in particular that I watch because these homesteaders don't watch TV. Their children are outside running around in their garden or their homestead. And I like watching the interplay between them and their children. One show I've watched a little girl grow up from about the age of 3 and now she's 6. And I go, wow, that's what a healthy, normal, energetic 3-year-old little girl who is loved is supposed to look like. And my parts watch her. And sometimes they get jealous, but most of the times they go, wow, that's how it was supposed to be. And I go, yes. And now that little girl's 3 years old and they've had another baby, and that baby is about a year and a half old. And I watch that little baby because I've never had children, how it's developing without abuse. And so I'm reprogramming myself, and my parts are learning what it's supposed to be like. And no, we didn't have it. but but they now know it exists. So I watch my homesteaders. I watch my garden guy. And if I don't watch that, I will watch biblical scholars. I watch Michael Heiser and learn about the Bible. Um, I will watch podcasts, one that's called Almost False. This man interviews people who were drug addicts, prostitutes in the New Age, were witches, were Satanists, were whatever, and how they found Jesus and salvation. And they will tell you their story. They're anywhere from 1 to 2 hours long. And in watching those people talk about their past, I go, oh my gosh, that's what was going on in the ritual that I remembered. Holy crapola. They will help me to understand what I didn't understand as a little girl or even an adult in rituals because they were conscious adults doing these things, right? Or I will watch a show called The Confessionals, where he interviews people who have had supernatural experiences. So let go of the programming that's put out there by mainstream media. Stop with the Joe Rogan. Even stop with the truther movement stuff and the conspiracy theories. Stop all of it. Wean yourself off. Cut back your TV watching time by 80%. And when you hear your own it will give the space in your head that you need to hear your own thoughts. And if those thoughts are uncomfortable and give you anxiety, ask God to cleanse your thoughts. If it's the earworms from the TV and all that, Jesus cleanse my thoughts, Jesus cleanse my thoughts until it's gone. And if it pops in there again few hours later, a few days later, or I've even had it come in a few weeks later, Jesus cleanse my thoughts, Jesus cleanse my thoughts. Reprogram your thinking. Okay? Those are designed to do that. Music in particular, jingles, commercials. But in terms of television shows, it's designed to program you with what's politically correct. How should I be? Or to replace the family that you should have around you. As the human race, we were designed to grow up together with grandmas, grandpas, cousins, interacting with our family and our extended family in the same city. But society has been fragmented in such a way it's not there. So we have this innate desire, need to have a family. And so the powers that be provide it with television shows, right? Let your family be a new family, a different family. Homesteaders with healthy families, or something you've always wanted to learn about. For me, it was gardening. I want to learn about the occult. I want to understand what I experienced. So I will watch ex Satanists, ex witches, ex New Age people tell their stories. And I also want to learn about the Bible because it was so bastardized for me during my abuses. I didn't even want to approach it. And when I did approach it and try to read it, I couldn't understand it. So I'll listen to biblical scholars. There's another show that I watch on YouTube called Unraveling the Scriptures. And they will take the scriptures in 30 to 45-minute little bites and talk to you about this one character. And I haven't found one thing that disagrees with the biblical scholars that I watch or the Bible that I'm actually reading myself. There was one time that they talked about the creation and inserted a little thing about climate change. So I was like, I'm a little skeptical about that one. But of the probably, I don't know, 60 or 70 different little shows, that's the one time I found that there was that slid in there. So change what you take in. But while you are weaning yourself off of the shows and off of the music, ask God to help you. Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. And if that doesn't work, choose a song that worships God. Rewrite, overwrite the programming that's been going on in your head. But most of all, be in silence as much as possible so that you can hear your own thoughts. If you hear your own thoughts and they become uncomfortable, and sometimes I will know that there's a whole conversation going on in my head and I can't hear it at all. And it might make me oh, what's going on in there? Oh my gosh. Don't run away from it. Just do your worship song, bring God and Jesus into your life and into your thoughts, into your headspace, and ask God, Jesus, I need help being in silence. If I can't think about you or ponder on you or have that stillness of mind where I can just think about one topic in the Bible and really dive into it because I've got all these other distracting thoughts. The distraction is the external noise that is designed to do what it is doing, to keep you from thinking for yourself. They want to think for you, they want to fill your head up. Stop filling your head up with what the controllers want it filled with, and you will go through a withdrawal. Wean yourself off. Do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, the whole hour before you get into your car to go to work with silence. If you have a spouse or kids, say, hey, I'm having a little experiment go on here. Would you mind if we keep that off for the first 30 minutes of our day? Get their agreement. Have them watch this little talk I'm doing. Interact with each other instead of that. And if you find your anxiety building again, ask God and Jesus to help you with that. Overwrite your programming. Write your own song. It doesn't have to be complicated. Or pick out a worship song that has lyrics that you enjoy. But don't listen to it from an external source. You sing it to God inside your head. Or even as I'm walking my dog or watering outside, I'll sing it outside. Not very loudly. It'll be holy, 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 hallelujah. Holy Jesus, praise Jesus. Alleluia. Lord of lords, King of kings. Alleluia. Glory, glory, God's majesty. Alleluia. And I will repeat that over and over and over. I'm rewriting the programming that the world is giving me. And I am letting the self-persecutorial parts or the depressed parts or the angry parts understand that God can help us with those things. Because when I'm singing my worship song, I will have thoughts go through my head and I'll lose my place in my song. But I go, oh, and I'll just start it again or start in the middle. and it soothes me. And it's like I said, it's not very loud. It's about that volume level. And sometimes I'll get a little embarrassed as I'm walking by someone. And I think, oh my God, I shouldn't be embarrassed. So I'm working on that as I walk past people while I'm walking my dog to not lower my voice or stop singing to say hello because I'm embarrassed to sing in front of them. So I'm trying to do that more. So 3 times on camera now. I have never thought that I had a decent voice, and I know I have not a great voice at all, but I like it now. As to where a year ago, I thought I had the worst voice on the planet, and now I'm like, it's not so bad. So give yourself some head space. Get used to and comfortable hearing your own voice in your head is what you're doing. And your voice, for me, is 1,195 parts. And some of them aren't very nice. But you know what? A lot of them are. And a lot of them are smart and funny and have a decent singing voice and have creative ideas that I never heard before because my head was so filled up with crap, the external noise. I never thought I could do what I'm doing now. That I am creative. I have good ideas. I can communicate them. I am a decent gardener, and it's okay if my house isn't perfectly spotless because that's the way my dad wanted it, right? Give yourself some headspace. So, to my friend that I talk with a lot every week, every Monday, like I told you, wean yourself off of the external noise in the house, in the car, with your TV shows. The shows that you do watch need to be educational, something that you've always wanted to learn, something that will help you with your healing. You can watch other survivors speak, be interviewed. Like I like to watch ex-Satanists who are now saved because they'll warn you about the New Age, about this cult, that cult, this religion, that religion, whatever. You will learn from them. And in that learning, as I have new memories about the occult and satanic practices, I go, oh, that's what was going on. Because so and so, that's what oh my gosh. He was in there practicing that thing, but I was the victim of it. Oh my, I get it now. It's not just this random, weird, bizarre memory. Watch things that will teach your parts how life could have been. No, it wasn't for us, but they don't even know that it really exists out there. So I watch my homesteaders. They have 6 kids, a year and a half little girl, a 6-year-old little girl, and then 4 older boys who go range all the way up to the age of, I think the oldest one is 17. They just got their driver's licenses. I think the 2 oldest are twins, and they're going off to work. So watch healthy educational things. If you have to have that external noise, let it be that. And if you can let even that go, it's okay to sit in front of your computer and do parts work for 4 hours a night. I'll do that sometimes. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to. There's nothing I'm interested in. I'll come into my computer, sit down, And go, okay, I've been thinking about wanting to do that thing with my parts. Why don't I do that? Allot a certain amount of time for your parts work daily. But it is parts work by shutting off the noise because you're listening to your own thoughts, and those are your parts. Maybe you got a part that's got a huge ego. I'm just so awesome. I got a great singing voice. Or whatever. You're going to have egotistical parts. You're going to have self-righteous parts. And you're going to have other parts that have a conscience and say, wait, who the hell do you think you are? You're not any better than them. Those thoughts in your head, this is what my friend struggles with a lot. Well, how do I know if it's not my thought or if it's a part's thought or if I'm thinking it's a part's thought, but it's really my thought? The only thing I can say is yes. They are all you. But the more silence you have, and the more you get rid of the external noise. And when the self persecutorial parts come up, and you'll sing a worship song, or you'll say, Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. It's a mantra over and over and over. I could do that for 5. Jesus, cleanse my thoughts. Jesus, you're letting your parts know that you are taking control. You, the CEO, and I won't even say front personality. You, the core personality, the person that's healing and getting these memories, you're letting your parts know, guess what? I'm in charge. I'm going to take control. I want to hear your thoughts. So when you hear those thoughts where you're persecuting yourself, or you're getting down on yourself, or your ego's out of control, and you can't record them, it's your parts talking to you. And after a while, you're going to be able to look back over 6 months of journal entries and go, I really do have a self-persecutorial part. Who are you? What's your name? You don't want to tell me? Fine, I'm going to call you Percy for self-persecutorial. You're Percy until you can tell me your name. You with the big ego. What's going on with you? How'd you get such a big ego? I'll call you Igor. Give them a name. Let them know you're in charge. You want to know them. You're not squashing them now, you're listening to them. And so down the line as you go and you've named yourself Percy, okay, I got Percy in there. Percy, that's your name. That's what I'm going to call you because you're not willing to let me know who you are. Well, after 6 months of interacting with him, you'll probably have a memory come up where you were taught to be self-persecutorial and they gave you a name. And that part will tell you his name. And once you have the name, the memory, the image, the environment, and you can put them through my questionnaire and get to know that part will become co-conscious with you instead of subconscious, buried, and he's going to persecute you, and you know, you have no control over it. Take control of what's going on in your head. You need head space to do that. Get rid of the external noise. And when you have that, the self-persecution, granted, when you're driving or you're at work or you're cooking dinner, you can't journal out those self-persecutorial thoughts. But when you sit down at the end of the night to go to bed or whenever you do your journal time, write it down. Record as much as humanly possible. Go back and look over it. Wow, I got a part with a really big ego. I got a part that likes to persecute me. I got a part that unless I spotlessly clean my house from corner to corner every Saturday morning, I'm a loser. Right? I called that part clean. Clean. Clean your room. Clean this. Clean. Her name was Clean. Take control of it. Give him a name. Okay, that self-persecutorial part, you are Percy. Yeah, so and so with the big ego, I'm gonna call you Igor, whatever. Pick a name. The one that wants to be depressed and feel sorry for themselves, call them Debbie Downer. Because there's going to come a certain point they don't like the name that you give them, and they're going to tell you who they really are. How dare you? I'm not Debbie Downer. I'm not Igor. I'm not Percy. They're going to tell you, and how do they tell you? Bam! With a memory. They'll say, stop calling me Percy. My name is Annabelle. And this is what happened to me. But they're only going to do it if you take control of it. Be the CEO of your corporation of people. Or, as I like to think about it, I am their mother, and I want to guide them and love them and educate them and comfort them when they're in pain. And when they're mad, do a TED Talk. We are their new mother. We are the CEO of the corporation of Diana, or whatever your name is. But I think you get my point. Take control of it. Spend a certain amount of time to journal every day. And on the weekends, I would strongly recommend 2 to 4 hours each day. Talk with your spouse, let them know I need this time. On Saturday morning and Sunday morning, I need to be in the office with the door shut. You deal with the kids. I need this time. Get their agreement. And no, you don't know how long that's going to go on. It might last 4 or 5 years or 1 or 2. I'm now in I started this October 23, so I've crossed over my 2 year mark. But we're not going to be a victim to it for 40 or 50 years. You've got to take control of it now while it's presenting itself. They're showing you what's going on. And if you push it down and push it away, they're going to get an attitude and not want to share with you. Take the time. If you're a single mom, all I can say is do your best after the kids are put down to bed, or if you have an older kid that can take care of the younger. But this is the season of our life. As they say, I forget what it is in the Bible, but you go through different seasons. And this season might last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But we will get to a point where it lessens. I've gotten to that point already. I can have a horrific memory and go through the crying and do the TEDs, but within 2 or 3 days, and sometimes by the next morning, I'm fine. And you will get to that point too. Seize the moment. Get your family and friends, get agreement with them. If you're a single mom, let one of your good friends know what's happening with you. Would you mind watching my kids every Saturday morning until noon? I need time to work on this. Find a way. Make a commitment to you, to your parts. When you do, so many of them are going to be, what? You've ignored us for decades and now we get attention? What? And you're going to have the angry ones that are pissed off. Well, fuck you. Excuse F you. You didn't listen to them. Whatever. Just record it and hear it. But I'm going to pull this right back around to you've got to have the headspace to do it. So, anyhow, I'll let y'all go. Thank you for listening. I love you all, and God bless you and give you strength, wisdom, and courage to find your headspace and become the mother in control of, in a good way, your parts. That's part of the healing. Love you all. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Round and round, what comes